Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Writing Grief and Nurturing Your Creative Practice. It's a workshop led by Yona Harvey. My name is Andrew Engel. I'm Senior Programmer at Reimagine. And for anyone who needs a visual description, I'm a cis white man. I got grayish hair, got my glasses, a plaid shirt, and an orange wall as my background. Each month this summer at Reimagine, we're presenting programs on Wednesdays that focus on a theme. And this month, we're finishing up a series that explores the many facets of grief through the lens of growth or transformation. As some of you may know, we at Reimagine have been leaning into the theory and practice of what's called post-traumatic growth, and that's a sciencey name to describe the struggle we experience with grief, loss, and adversity, and then using that experience as a spark for some kind of transformation. By the way, this concept that I'm talking about isn't unique to Western science, and you can find it in all sorts of global traditions. So post-traumatic growth, or PTG, it's rooted in psychological research. Those who experience adversity and loss can also experience strength, optimism, more meaningful relationships, a deeper appreciation of life, and heightened spirituality and purpose. I'm not a scientist, but I want to stress that transformation from trauma or grief isn't something that's constant. It's perfectly acceptable not to experience any growth at all when you're encountering loss. Last week, we had a discussion with Jenny Diltz and author Robert Pardee on what was called the benefits of grief, which I think to some ears might sound a little strange. Some of those benefits that were discussed included finding a community of other grievers, discovering the capacity to express your feelings, and saying no when you need to, and recognizing the strength that you never knew existed. 2 weeks ago, we had an event called I'm Feeling Away. You feeling away? And it was a program in which we centered the experiences of African-American grief. It was an excellent mix of information, resources, conversation led by two amazing Black women, Dion Monsanto and Dr. Corinne Glover. And they discussed how current events, in particular like Roe v. Wade, are triggering pre-existing grief and trauma and a whole other important issues. And I hope you'll all get a chance to take a look at the recording. I'll be posting that later in the chat along with other Reimagine events. And I want to point out that and Yona was there at this, watched this event, and there were a few comments from the audience which I thought were important to take note of. One was from someone, and I'll quote here, "Can have post-traumatic growth when BIPOC folks are continually in survival mode," end of quote. The other one that I thought was really interesting was, quote, "I don't think people of the global majority are ever post anything because we're always dealing with something right now," end of quote. So I just wanted to share that as food for thought for everyone on this Zoom call. Again, I'll be posting those links in the chat. In August, our theme will be physical health, and we'll provide spaces to discuss the difficulties we face with serious or chronic illness, disability, and injury, as well as pathways for growth. We've got a workshop in August with movement specialist and transformational coach Sasha Soroff, a discussion with Nitika Chopra and author Megan O'Rourke for those who are chronically ill, and a discussion on creating art from illness. And you can register for these events at letsreimagine.org. So the majority of us are Zooming in from the United States, also known as Turtle Island by Native Americans and their allies. I'm in Lenapehoking, where a large city called New York is located on occupied land. And I ask you all to join me in acknowledging Indigenous communities in North America their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. I'm stating this because it's a step to continue the process of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and white supremacy. We're all interested in knowing where all of you are located, so please put that in the chat. And there's a very helpful map. It's called native-land.ca. And you can check that out to learn about the location of Indigenous people, past, present, and future. I want to point out on Zoom here, there's the CC button on the bottom. You can click on that and you'll get a live transcript of what's being said. And feel free to send me a note during this call. If you're having any technical issues, I might be able to help you. And now I'm going to end this slide share. There we go. I can see you all now. It's my pleasure to introduce our workshop leader, Yona Harvey. We at Reimagine got to know Yona in the spring when she participated in a discussion on superheroes and grief. And you may already know Yona as an accomplished poet. She's a professor at University of Pittsburgh. And you may know her as one of the co-authors of these comics. I am a big fan of hers. And she has 2 award-winning poetry collections, You Don't Have to Go to Mars for Love and Hemming the Water, so you should buy those at your local independent bookstore. And she has worked with teenagers writing about mental health issues in collaboration with Creative Nonfiction Magazine and the Staunton Farm Foundation. Yona, it's great to have you back. Please take it away.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I love being in the Reimagine community. Thank you everybody out there for coming through. We're just gonna make some stuff. We're gonna talk about memory and how that's connected to grief. But mostly I'm gonna keep you busy. I'm not gonna talk at you too much. I want you to make stuff. So hopefully you have some index cards around and some pens. If not, you can use scrap paper. You can use your notebook. It's completely fine. Like Andy said, I'm more comfortable, I guess, in poetry. But over the past several years, comics have been really helpful to me. I had mentioned in the previous Reimagine event that, you know, because of my own grief process, when I lost my sister, I found that comics were more helpful to me. Reading them, writing them, you know, doodling. I found that poetry was not the right avenue for me at that time. So now I go back and forth. I mean, I've read comics a long time, but now I go back and forth, you know, with a lot of different genres, poetry, essay writing, comic book scripts, etc. And I hope you'll have the power to do that as well. I'm gonna open up with just a little tiny short poem by the late, great Lucille Clifton. And of course, I would have to open with a poem, right? It's called Why Some People Be Mad at Me Sometimes. Why some people be mad at me sometimes. They ask me to remember, but they want me to remember their memories, and I keep on remembering mine. And that's from Blessing the Boats by Lucille Clifton. And I just want you to keep that in mind tonight, that whatever you remember, whatever you want to write about, that's the space that you, I hope, feel you have permission to write in. And then the second thing I want to say is that I'm using the term book here very loosely. So there's so many different kinds of zines out there. They're all different sizes. Some are super tiny, so you don't have to feel like you're making this professional grade thing. We're gonna like tape some cards together. It's gonna be fun. This is actually a fun one too. This zine is like somebody's like love letter to print. So zines can be about all kinds of topics, right? Favorite musicians, surviving cancer, or chronicling life with a partner with cancer, personal finance. There's all these wild topics for zines out there. And the best part is that they're super affordable to make. So tonight we're going to be working in the index card mode. And I'm just going to get us started. I'm going to have you take a breath, and maybe I'm going to have myself take a breath. And we'll warm up for a little bit. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to have you do is grab a card, if you have one nearby. And we're going to frame it. And I'll show you how. You just take your card and you can frame it like this so that it becomes real for you. That page becomes real for you. And while you're doing that, I'll tell you another quick story, the story that's part of the reason how I got here. I'm sure we all have different stories, different people that have brought us to this workshop around grief. So when I was really young, I think maybe I was transitioning from second grade to third grade, somewhere around in there. For some reason, lots of people were passing away in my community. So there was a childhood neighbor's younger brother died of leukemia. And then my mother's mother passed away. And then I think shortly thereafter, father. So my grandparents, my neighbor's brother, and I had put the programs from the funerals, I had taped them to the wall in my bedroom. And so I went away to school or whatever. And when I came back home, the programs were pulled down. My mom had, taken them off of the wall. And there was never any conversation about it at all. I just got the sense that maybe I had done something wrong. So there's two things that I learned from that. One, of course, that grief and death and dying are uncomfortable for people. They don't have the language. It clearly made my mom very uncomfortable because she took all of those things down. But also we didn't discuss it. But the second thing that I learned is that through curiosity and art and digging, I could sort of chart my way to grief language and death language. And, of course, I learned later that in many traditions, people have altars and people put images of their ancestors. I have an altar in my house right now. You can't see it, but I'm staring at it. The candles are lit. And so I introduced that story because I think that story is a huge part of the reason that I'm here, that led to me being here in community with you. And there's nothing wrong about, exploring our feelings around grief and loss. And I hope through some of these exercises that you, find some language or some comfort around something that keeps presenting itself or often presents itself to us as uncomfortable or wrong. Okay, so if you have a card or you have a notebook, it's all good. I'm just gonna do a few warm-ups with you so that we can relax and come into the space. So first thing I want you to do is think about a pen name for yourself. And this is something that the cartoonist Linda Berry often invites her participants or students to do. So just some name that you want to give yourself for this session, that's fine. You know, as you draw and write, I personally like to be jukebox. So I'm going to call myself jukebox, and I'm going to write that in the left-hand corner of my card. And then I'm also going to put the date. So my card is outlined and I have the date like this. So you can give that a try. And then I'm going to ask you to do a self-portrait, you know, but from your head all the way down to your toes, a little bitty cartoon of yourself with this name that you've given yourself for the duration of the workshop. So remember, you know, try to tap into your younger self. The only rule here is head to toes, draw the whole body, and no stick figures. Try to just really go for it. It could be a big old Charlie Brown head, you know, give the arms a little bit of thickness. Just try not to make it sticks. And I'm gonna set my timer for 3 minutes because I don't want you to stress out about it or belabor over it. Just a really quick 3-minute self-portrait just to get comfortable with drawing. Okay, set my timer. And go. Just see what you come up with. Okay, how'd you do? I can't tell. Some of the squares I can see people moving, and others I think it's an image, but mine looks a little frantic because I'm always a little bit nervous at the beginning of a workshop. But I think by the end, my drawings will look a little less shaky. Someone said it looks a mess. That's good. Oh, I'm glad. Jacqueline, that's good. Messy's good. It's fine. We don't have to be perfect artists here. I should, oh, thank you. Look at that. Somebody's putting theirs up to the screen. That's good. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. We don't have to be perfect artists here. I should also say I am not a cartoonist. I write comic book scripts, but I find drawing to be very comforting, soothing, de-stressing. And of course, I love comics and zines, but nobody has to be a great artist to be here. Okay. I'll see. And then someone says, I'm cute in their drawing. Fantastic. Great. And some people are not going to show theirs. That's okay. You don't have to show it. It's all right. No worries. These are just warm-ups, So it's all good. Okay. Now, what I like to do is just flip back and forth so we don't panic here. So just moving back and forth between drawing and writing, drawing and writing, drawing and writing. And that's how we'll build our little books together too. True. I see someone saying it's an exercise in itself to draw yourself. For sure. It's probably one of the hardest things. Okay. So I have been fortunate to work with a lot of really great mental health teachers, experts, and other artists, and sometimes be their students, sometimes their collaborators. So the next thing we'll do is just a short sort of grounding exercise. And maybe you've done this before. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. And it's just a little bit quiet. And it just helps to get you tapping your muscles, using your muscles around the senses and details. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So First, I want you to just write down on your index card or on your separate paper, if you don't have an index card, 5 things that you can see in the room with you. So what are 5 things that you see in the room with you right now? Just write those 5 things down. Okay, and once you have those 5 on the same card, write 4 things you can feel right now in the room, in your body, 4 things that you feel right now. Okay, and on the same card, 3 things that you can hear in the room right now. Okay, after that, 2 things you can smell right now. And then the last thing is 1 thing that you can taste right now. Anything you can taste right now? Okay, and once you have that, you can just add it to your stack or accumulating stack. I guess it's not a stack yet, but it will be by the time we're finished. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the way that that exercise was first introduced to me was around nerves. And sometimes if you feel panicked or nervous or anxious, you can do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise and calm yourself down. So you just get a little grounded, and it helps you to remember the things too, all the senses. So you just become more aware of where you are. But I think there's also a parallel with writing and making too. So much about writing and drawing is connected to the senses. Someone said no smell. Yeah, that's hard. Yes. And then someone's asking, do we write only on one side of the note card? Yes. And I think it's typically good for it to be vertical like this, but it'll help when we like stitch them all together at the end. But it's your book, it's your exercise. There's really no right or wrong way. My hope is that you keep all the notes, you have all the exercises, so you can do them again, you know, on your own, and you can change the rules however is suitable for you. Okay. Right. Someone said no smell. I saw that. Yeah, sometimes it's like that. Okay. Now I'm going to read a poem. And after that poem, you're gonna write and draw again. So this poem is by Tomáš Salomon, and he was a Slovenian poet, and he has so many books, so many great books. Not even all of them have been translated to English, but I think this is a good poem that helps us think about changing point of view. Name again, I will type it in the chat. Tomáš.
Yona, do you want me to share this one on the screen?
Yes, thank you. It's been a while since I read this poem aloud, so I will do my best tonight. Okay, he calls this poem History. Tomáš Salomon is a monster. Tomáš Salomon is a spear rushing through the air. He lies down in twilight. He swims in twilight. People and I, we both look at him amazed. We wish him well. Maybe he is a comet. Maybe he is punishment from the gods, the boundary stone of the world. Maybe he is such a speck in the universe that he will give energy to the planet when oil, steel, and food run short. He might only be a hump. His head should be taken off like a spider's, but something would then suck up Tomasz Solomon, possibly the head. Possibly he should be pressed between glass. His photo should be taken. He should be put in formaldehyde so children would look at him as they do fetuses, protei, and mermaids. Next year, he'll probably be in Hawaii or in Ljubljana. Doorkeepers will scalp tickets. People walk barefoot to the university there. The waves can be 100 feet high. The city is fantastic, shot through with people on the make. The wind is mild, but in Ljubljana, people say, look, this is Tomasz Solomon. He went to the store with his wife, Marushka, to buy some milk. He will drink it, and this is history. Okay. You're probably wondering where all this is going, but it's going somewhere, I swear. Part of the method is to just turn off your sensors and make the thing. So as I mentioned, or did I mention this? I don't know. You may have noticed when you saw the poem, it's written by Tomasz Solomon, but he's writing about himself in the third person. And why is that why can that be a helpful thing sometimes to write about yourself in the third person rather than the first person? Does anybody have any quick thoughts about that? They want to toss in the chat? Yeah, to get distance. It's hard to write about yourself. You can move around in time. It's freeing. Yes, wow, all of this is great. Okay, fantastic. I love it. Yeah, and you've thought about this. Yeah, you can undermine information that's in your head. It's funny. Yes, totally. It just gives you a different way of thinking, right? It sort of disrupts. Fantastic. There's so many great answers in here. Okay, clearly I'm dealing with advanced writers and makers here. Awesome. That's great. It's a release. It's playful, all of that. And you sense all of that in his poem. So great. Wonderful. Yes, it's a form of passing. That's interesting. Wow. Ooh, we can talk about that more later too. Okay, good. So that is my introduction to the next card. And this might spill over into one or two cards. So you might want to do it, this way. This way might be better. Vertical. All right. So I'm just going to ask you a series of questions and answer them about yourself, but in the third person. Okay. So first question, at what time of year were you born? Okay. And second question, what does your happiness taste like? How does anger move through your body? Describe how you put on your shoes before leaving the house. Quote a line from a song that sometimes gets stuck in your head. Oh, repeat. Someone's asking me to repeat. Quote a line from any song that sometimes gets stuck in your head. It could be a favorite song. It could be an annoying song. If you had a mantra, what would it be? If you had a mantra, what would it be? Who or what feeling led you to this workshop tonight? What person brought you here? If you could be anywhere in the world next year, where would you be? If you could be anywhere in the world next year, where would you be? What does your grief sound like? What does your grief sound like? Someone's asking if all of this is on one side of the card. Yes. And if you need to spill over into another card, yes, go for it. What do you regret? I think someone's asking me to repeat that, maybe. What do you regret? That's the last question that I asked. And then before that, someone asked, should everything be on one side of the card? And I said, yes. And if you have to use multiple cards, that's okay. And just two more. Tell me something you're uncertain of. Tell me something you're uncertain of. And the last one, tell me something encouraging. Tell me something encouraging. Now, outside of this workshop, when you have time, I think it would be great to collate, put them all together like a little bio and keep it in the third person. You can move the order of the things around. You don't have to keep the answers in the same order that you responded tonight, but just go back and, play around with it a little bit, but keep it in the third person. But for our time together now, just choose one thing on the list that is speaking to you the most and frame another card and draw a picture of it. So it could be, let's see, an image of you putting your shoes on before you leave the house. It could be an illustration of what grief sounds like. Just frame your card first. And then I'll set the timer for 3 minutes and just draw one of those things on the list. Okay. And remember, it does not have to be Picasso. It's just your little cartoon. You have 1 minute left. Oh, somebody's asking what you're drawing. You're drawing anything from your list, the list that you generated just now. So I asked you lots of things, but just pick the one that's the most interesting to draw for you. Thank you to Rachel for answering that. We have 20 seconds left. Maybe my sound is not good. I don't know. I'll turn up the volume. Okay, that's time. And you do not have to hold it up to the screen if you don't want to, but you can. It's a good ritual. If we were all together in the room, I would have you do that. I love those. Thank you. Thank you. I love it when people share them. That's great. Your personalities come through. Okay. That's great. Love it. Ooh, I see a lot of line activity there. Who is that? Kelly. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think it's Kelly. Okay. Great. Okay, I see more messages coming in. I'm not so good a drawer. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be. You do not have to be. Yeah, don't worry. Okay, let's try now the drawing. We're gonna invite the person who maybe brought you to this workshop into the space. And this is going to be over a series of cards. So, okay. I'm trying to also pay attention to my messages here. Okay, sorry. Okay. All right, good. I'm glad. I see. I'm not an artist, but I'm enjoying this. I'm glad you are. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Here we go. Next round. Now this, I'm going to ask you to make a list. As you can see, I'm super big on lists. Memories are lists. Lists are the heart and soul of poetry. That's probably why I'm always asking you to make lists. Now, so this list, you might not want to make on an index card. You might just make it somewhere off to the side so you don't waste a card on it. No card is really wasted, but you know what I'm saying. Just put the list wherever it's comfortable for you. It's not super long. Just make a list of all the places that you lived growing up, all the places you can remember. Might be only one place. Maybe you lived in the same place. It just depends on the person, but just make a list. You know, I'll give you like a minute or so to do that. All the places you can remember living. Third person again, doesn't have to be third person, just a list of the places. The list is for you, so don't worry. Only in childhood? No, all the way, for everywhere, from childhood, every place you ever lived. If you can remember it, write it down. Does not have to be in childhood. I'm muted, sorry. Okay, once you have all of your places, circle the one that's the most interesting to you, the one that's speaking to you, the one that you want to draw, hint, hint, the one you want to spend some time with over the next few cards. Don't overthink it. Just pick the one that's giving you the spark. Okay? All right, so we're gonna do what in comics and film is called your little establishing shot. So now on your card, I want you to draw that place as if you're standing and looking at it from across the street. So draw it as if you were standing and looking at it from across the street. And do your best. It does not matter. Don't freak out about the drawing part. I'm going to set the timer again for 3 minutes. Frame the card. Yes. Always frame it. Make it official. Yes. Frame first, then draw. Oh no. Feisty Joan. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you stick through with us through the remainder of this exercise and get a little bit of relief. But if you're angry or frustrated, you definitely do not have to stay. My exercises are not for everybody. And you certainly, I don't want you to feel upset or frustrated. So I totally respect that. Someone is asking if they can turn the card on the side. Yes, that might be helpful, more helpful if you're drawing a building or a house, apartment, I don't know what you're drawing. So yes, do what works for you. It is your drawing.
Yona, there's a request to repeat the instruction.
Oh, okay. For this one, you're taking the place from your list and you're drawing it as if you were standing across the street looking at it. So with that kind of view. So standing across the street. Okay, that's time. Now I'm going to ask you to frame another card. So pick a new card and frame it. If you're not working with cards, fine. Just do a little frame in your notebook. No big deal. And on this card, you're going to show a close-up to the entrance of the same place. So first you were standing across the street. Now you're close up, maybe at the door or at a window or at the garage, wherever. I'm not sure what you're drawing, so I don't know. But whatever you want to make a close-up of near the entrance to that place. And someone said they just finished the list of where they've lived. No worries, just jump in wherever you can. No big deal. Okay. I'll do a timer for 2 minutes. Yes, someone is asking in the chat, we are drawing a close-up of the entrance now. Yes. Yep. How, yeah. Okay, just a few more seconds on that. Okay, time, just find a place where you can stop. And now I want you to think again about the person who brought you here, the person you're grieving. And on the next card, I want you to draw that person at the entrance of that house. And notes, you're working with a creative, you're working with a poet. It doesn't matter if they ever went to that house or not, just draw them at the entrance of the house. Don't worry about how it looks, just give it a try. Just be open with me, with yourself, not me, forget about me. So draw them at the entrance as best you can. think I see, yes, someone is asking, draw the person you're grieving for at the entrance. Yes. And you have about 30 seconds left. Tough one. Yeah, agreed. Okay, that's time. And frame a new card. Oh, thanks for sharing your responses. Yeah. Gratitude to you for sharing. Okay, you have a new card framed. And in this card, you're gonna draw a close-up of the person. So try to draw them. A good close-up is kind of like we are in the Zoom boxes, you know, a good from the shoulder up would be great. So you don't have to put their full body. So frame your card and, you know, they could be looking at you, draw it at, you know, in a way that you see them. And someone as well writing that a pet, a beloved pet came into the space. Allow it. No, these are great responses. How did you know? I had a big cry yesterday because my mom will never see my wonderful new house in the woods. I think of my beloved Darren in the kitchen cooking. Take one more minute with your close up and, you know, try to get everything in that you can remember. If there's glasses or wrinkles or lines or pudgy cheeks, baby face, whatever it is, anything about their hair. Don't forget their eyebrows and their ears, mouth, all of the things. And remember, it's a cartoon. It's not a portrait. So it's okay. You know, somehow we figure out the emotions of Simpsons and Black Panther and all these comics, you know, they're cartoons, they're not portraits. So it's okay. Someone said she might be mad to see how I've drawn her. That's great. You should put that. You should write that on your card. Put that in, write that on the card. That's a great line for your card. Ryan, she might be mad to see how I've drawn her. I love it. I would put it right on there. Okay, very last card for this exercise is to draw, if you can, do your best, frame one more card. And do an aerial view of the place. So you're back out again and just, this time it's not just the house or the building, the apartment, whatever. It's like all of that, like in the context of the neighborhood. If you can, just do your best, however that looks to you. Just go for it. I'll set the timer again. 3 minutes. If you're still drawing your aerial view, that's fine. Keep going. If you're done, just take a look at the little set of cards that you made just now in this little short sequence, and move them around. See what order you want to put them in. Just somebody said they gave up on drawing. They look atrocious. It's not, don't worry, it's not about the drawing. It's more the process and the remembering and the ushering in. So don't worry. But you can also put that commentary on your card, because y'all are making me laugh with the commentary. Just put them on the cards. The chat text is, to me, part of the art. And just kind of lay them out. If you have a little space in front of you, just put them in an order that intuitively feels right for you. Okay, last card. Once you have them in order, just pick one more to frame. Yeah, don't worry too much about perspective. That's what Linda Berry told us in a previous workshop. It helped. I like that. Good. Ooh, that's exciting. I took a class with Linda Berry and it changed my whole life. Karen is saying, I'm surprised with 14 homes to choose from. I randomly selected one. And then when you suggested who was on the doorstep, it made sense. I didn't expect this. Thank you. Absolutely. And again, these are just many things that people have shared with me, and they've helped me too. So I don't know, I feel like I have a responsibility to go forth and share in the same way. So, okay, great. So with the last card, you can do it in first person or third person, whatever is comfortable for you, but it's just your very final thoughts about the process. Anything that came up, definitely put the date on here on this card after you frame it. And maybe it pissed you off, it made you mad, it made you remember, whatever it is, just any final thought that you want to timestamp today, just go ahead and put it on your card. It's nobody's business but yours, so be free. Sky is saying she doesn't understand what the questions did, a bit confused about the whole process. I'm not sure which questions. I had a lot of prompts. But mostly I use questions to get people to open up and not censor themselves. So Sky, you didn't specify which questions. So Cecilia's asking, can I repeat this prompt? I'm just asking you to timestamp your final thought, anything that came up for you, anything that you want to write about the memory, about the person who was standing outside the house, anything at all that you want to write. Also, it's, we're doing the best we can in 90 minutes together. So I do come at you with a lot of stuff because I like you to be able to take it away and try it again on your own terms, maybe in a space without a group. I like this, Mara. Love and anger, furious love, liquid fire, like quicksilver magma. Time to say goodbye to grief. I am still standing. I love the time travel. I've cried this morning and during this workshop, but I'm grinning now and getting a yes. Grief sucks, but it is the price of love. Thanks for this exercise. You're welcome. I appreciate all those comments. And great. Thank you, Allison. Okay. I'm gonna show you. You may not have tape because I didn't ask you to bring tape, but that's okay. But again, these quick books, once you decide on the order for your card, you can use Scotch tape or masking tape, and you just tape the cards together. And then you build your little book. It'll be very long if you keep writing and drawing. If you thought my prompt sucked or my questions were crazy and nonsensical, then you just go back and you create your own cards on your own terms, and then you tape them together. The main thing I want you to be able to do is, have a little talisman or a little book for yourself. And I just want to share a few things that might be helpful to you. So, of course, just good old-fashioned journaling, whatever kind of notebook that you have. This was my sister's journal from when she was in college, and I feel super lucky to have it and to be able to read some of her thoughts that she had when she was depressed and anxious, and also sometimes when she was more joyous. So that tool is always available to you, journaling. Like, it costs you nothing. You could do it on an index card, the napkin. You don't even need a fancy book. And then, of course, there is the awesome Linda Berry. She has Making Comics. It's a spectacular book. There's many exercises. They also push you a little bit. There's a lot about memory. I'm going to read to you what she says about memory in this book, because I think it's relevant to what we're doing. She says, the past is in constant motion. Some say a memory changes each time we remember it, giving the impression that a memory degrades over time. But what exactly is degrading? What really happened is never a fixed state. The significance of any element changes depending on when we're recalling it, why we are recalling it, and who we are recounting it to. So I think that speaks to some of the comments that came up in the chat as well, like feeling like, oh, this is a lot of questions. It could be disorienting, and it might not be the right space for you, and that is totally fine. Another great comic, this one's called Harvey, and it's about a little boy who becomes invisible after the loss of his father. He comes home from school and he finds out that his father had a heart attack. It's beautifully drawn and it's beautifully told. I don't know if you work with young people, or it could be a comfort to yourself. I don't know if you're a teacher, this depends, or therapist. I don't know who's out there, but it's a lovely book. There's also Hot Comb by Ebony Flowers. Hot Comb is a collection of short stories. They're black and white cartoons. They're it mixes, it's like grief. It's like bittersweet. There's pangs, there's ups and downs in it. There's just like so many good stories in here. And there is one called Big Ma, actually, about the loss of a loved one and the stories around that. But there are also stories about hair. It's a really good book, worth checking out. And then they're gonna email you a list tomorrow, but I'll just end with the last one. There's also humor. So I also recommend Punch Me Up to the Gods by Brian Broom. So it's a complicated subject matter, but it's also infused with a lot of humor. It's a memoir. So lots of things. If you want to continue, again, like the Linda Berry, I highly recommend it, especially having taken a workshop with her. I do not pretend to be a cartoonist or anything like that, but as a poet and someone who sought different kinds of ways to deal with my grief through art and writing, there's so many helpful exercises and things in here. Again, so for yourself, or if you work with young people, I think you would find a lot of things in here that are valuable. Oh, I see a list coming up in the chat. Okay, great. So I think it's 9:25 and I don't know what happens next, if there's anything that Reimagine wants to say, but I just want to thank you all for being open and experimental with me for 90 minutes. And I hope there's something that you can take away.
Can we get a round of applause for Yona Harvey, please? There was so much love for you in this chat. I will send this to you later, Yona, so you get a copy of it. And I also appreciated that, you handled folks who were struggling with this in a really respectful way. And you're just a master teacher, and we're so grateful to have you part of this community. I just want to remind everyone, you will be getting a follow-up email from us with resources, with the recording. I hope you'll come to other events on Wednesdays in August. We have our vigil on August 3rd. You'll find everything on letsreimagine.org. Thank you all, and we hope to see you soon. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks, Yona.